welcome to another Tuesday live right here on my page, Sweet Paper Studios. Sorry, I'm a little out of breath right now because I just had to run upstairs quickly, help my son with something. So I'm just going to wait as people pop on. I know I'm a little later than I said I was going to be doing my Facebook Lives, but today was my sister's birthday and we had to go and do a drive-by birthday. So happy birthday, Shannon. So that's why I had to start a little bit later today. But I'm excited for today's Facebook Live. I'm just going to grab a sip of water, because I'm going to show you the Forever Fern bundle. Oh my gosh, I love this bundle so much. I've shown you guys a couple of cards with it already, and oh, I just love it. So I'm going to actually do a couple of cards tonight. I don't usually do that. I usually just do one and I'm done. But I'm excited to show you guys some stuff tonight. So let me know if you're here. Hi, Karma. And we'll just get started in a second. I will just do my own video share. So as always, if you share this video, you get into a draw for winning a little something from me. And I'll announce the winner from last week in just a minute. Hi, Wendy. I don't know if it's hot where you guys are right now, but it is hot right now in Hamilton. We are going through a big heat wave right now. And it's hot. It's felt like about 40 degrees. I'm not sure what that is Fahrenheit, but it's quite warm. Okay, so I'm just gonna give this one more share. But I do hope everyone is safe and well during this time. Hopefully everyone's getting some crafty time in. 102, oh my goodness. That's definitely probably hotter than here. But you know, it has been just, yesterday was hotter than today, but it's all right. It's supposed to cool down by the weekend, so hopefully a little bit better. Okay, so I'm just going to move my computer and make sure that I could still see everyone's comments. As I said, we're going to use the Forever Fern bundle. Just a couple of quick things. I am having my new catalog kickoff party on June 13th. It's going to be an all-day event, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern. It's all online on Facebook, so be sure to request access to my Sweet Paper Studios online staff and party Facebook group if you haven't already. This is a customer event only, unfortunately, so if you are one of my customers or if you're new to me, be sure to join me. It's going to be lots of fun. We're going to do lots of prizes. You're going to have lots of stamping, and I'm going to be live 3 or 4 times throughout the day. It's going to be just a lot of fun. I'm so sad I can't do it in person. I usually do it in person. But you know, now's not the time yet. And I'm going to talk about a couple of other things, but right now, because we're doing a couple cards, I'm going to get started and jump right in, and we'll do some crafts, some card making. So I'm just going to flip the camera right over. So just bear with me for 1 second, and I'll get you guys set right up here. It kind of looks like my camera may be a little bit blurry, so I'm just going to give it a quick wipe in case you're wondering what that is. Oh yeah, that looks better. Gonna get this all up here. I'm very excited for today's card. We're gonna do a couple of techniques, such as a simple watercolor wash. I recently posted a blog post today, and I got some questions about how I did the background, so I'm going to show you that. It's a very easy technique, and something that you can definitely recreate in a multitude of colors. So we'll just get right started. If you haven't seen it already, that's this card right here. As I said, this is made with the Forever Fern bundle. This is available to customers on June 3rd. So you got this beautiful stamp set with these detailed, gorgeous leaves. I'll show you a couple of other cards I've made with this. The one, I'm not quite sure where it is right now, but it's just beautiful. And then we're going to use the Coordinating Forever Flourishing dies. So this does come together in a bundle, which allows you to save 10%. And you've got, look at, I've gotten stuff all over already. But you just got these beautiful die cuts. So pretty. We're actually going to be using this one for this card. So I'll just put that aside. If you are here, just say hello so I know you're watching. As always, give this video a share and I will enter your name into a draw. From last week, I would like to announce the winner, who is Charla. So Charla, if you're watching or if you're going to watch the replay, please send me your address and I'll send you a little something in the mail. So I'll reach out to you and I'll tag you after at the bottom of this post as well. So congratulations on that. I really appreciate when you guys share my videos so much. And of course, if you are shopping online today, you can head over to sweetpaperstudios.com and that's this month's host code right up here. Okay, so for this card, we are going to do a couple of techniques. As I said, we're going to use this gorgeous balmy blue color. We're going to do a bit of die cutting and heat embossing for the sentiment. I will bring over my stuff. So you will need a basic black card base. This is a 5.5 by 8.5 card base that you're just going to fold right in half. And we're just going to burnish those edges, just like that. And then when we do a watercolor background, I always recommend watercolor paper. So this is watercolor paper. It's a bit thicker than your standard cardstock, so it really helps the paper not to sort of warp and change its shape on you. You will still see a slight bend, but I will give you a tip on how you can straighten that out with your heat tool. So along with the watercolor paper, as I said, we're using this balmy blue color. And actually, I actually haven't got this color until a few days ago. I don't know why I waited so long. It's gorgeous. So let me just find my balmy blue ink has seemed to have disappeared. Doesn't that always happen? You just had something in your hand and the next second it's like lost in all your crafty area. Oh my goodness, it has like completely disappeared. Okay, so maybe we will use a different color and we'll change it up on the fly. Oh, there it is. See? There you go. Balmy blue. I'm sure your fellow crafters can relate. I do that with scissors often as well, actually, and dimensionals. Dimensionals more so. Okay, so we got our basic black cardstock, and then we have our balmy blue cardstock, and we're actually going to bring out the stitched rectangle dies. Yeah, right, Vicky? It's always right in front of your face. We're going to use some stitched rectangle dies. These are amazing. I use these quite often. You've got so many different sizes. So in this case, we're going to use the third largest. Seems to be my go-to size when I'm sort of layering cards. And for this one, I haven't brought my Big Shot out on camera in quite a long time, but we're going to do that today. Fun note is that Stampin' Up! Is actually coming out with a new die and embossing machine. They're actually coming out with two, and oh, mine's a little bit dusty. They're coming out with two, and it's white, and it's very pretty, and I think the best thing about them is that these plates on it actually fold up, so they're easy to store, and there's a big one and there's a mini one that's so cute, which is awesome for travel, when you're going to those retreats and stuff, when we're allowed and when it's safe. But I can't wait. So they are in the catalog, in the new catalog, but they won't be available right away, but they will be available shortly thereafter. So I'll keep you guys posted on that, because if you've been wanting to update your die cutting machine, you're going to want to check those out. Okay, so I am just sandwiching my stitched rectangle into my die cutting machine, and I'm just going to roll that through. And because it's thicker paper, I like to go, hi Debbie, I like to push it in and then bring it back out. And then you have this die cut watercolor paper, and I just love the stitched edging on that. It's just so pretty. I'm a sucker for stitched edging. I have quite a few of the dies where you have stitched edge. All right. So, and then we're going to cut down our Balmy Blue cardstock. This is Step Trimmer from Stampin' Up. It is, it's not new, but I would say it's still relatively new. It is great. It is so sharp. I love it. So Balmy Blue, you're going to cut it at 4 5/8. Sorry, 3/8, 4 3/8. And then 3 1/8. See how clean that cut is on this? Beautiful. I'm just going to move this light in ever so slightly. So that will give you your base, and it will just give you a hint of a border around that. That's kind of all you want. Okay, watercoloring. You do need an aqua painter. So aqua painters are actually retiring, but I will say in the new catalog there are some new watercolor tools that actually come in a set of 3. I'm gonna look at that real quick. I wish I can show you the inside of this catalog right now, but I can't as per Stampin' Up! Rules. So I'm just going to look quickly and tell you about it. I know that there is 3 watercoloring tools. It comes with a fine tip, a medium tip, and a wide flat tip. I'm really excited about that. The background possibilities with those new painters are going to be just stunning, and I am really excited about that. Okay, so I guess there they are. Yeah, so they're just called water painters. You do have one fine tip, medium, and large. And of course you're going to want to use them on your watercolor paper. So watercolor wash. I have this full of water. You're going to want to make sure that you have a piece of paper towel nearby. And then you're going to take your stamp pad and you're just going to press that in the middle. You want to make sure that you get ink on the inside of the lid. Okay. And for a wash, all you're going to do is squeeze water out, and hopefully you can see this, but you're just going to add water sort of across your paper. There's no sort of rhyme or reason to it, you're just adding it. I tend to be a bit generous with it, and I don't tend to go top to bottom and side to side. I leave like a slight border around, because I like to be there. I like there to be some white. So I will dab that quick, and then you're going to pick up some of that color, and you're going to bring it all into the water. If you find that it is too wet, just make sure that you are using your paper towel and dabbing that water off. Okay, and you're just bringing the water over and spreading it out. If you run out of color, I just like to give that a quick wipe, and then I'm just going to squeeze that again and just grab more color. Hi, Paulette. And you just want to do that until you have the shade of blue that you want. So you can go as light or dark as you want. And that's pretty much it. There is no really rhyme or reason to it. You want to have fun with it. You can mix colors, and I will actually show you another watercolor card on how you can blend some colors in there. If you do get some pooling at the sides or the bottoms, I like to just take a clean corner and just dab it in and let it pick up that excess water. And then once you're all done with this, all you gotta do, I just like to squeeze some water out into the lid, and then I will take the paper towel and then clean out my lid. It looks just good as new. And then you could set that aside. Okay. Now when you're dealing with this, depending on how much watercolor you do use, you'll notice that you may get like a slight curve in the paper, but that's okay. What I'm going to do, and I apologize if this is a little loud, you can turn your volume down, but we're going to actually bring in the heat tool to help with that. And this has two settings, just 1 and 2, so I'm just going to put it on number 1. It's a very light, and you can speed up the drying process, but it also helps straighten that curve a little bit. So usually I like to let it dry for a couple minutes on its own, and then bring in the heat tool. But in this case, because I want to be mindful of timing, I'm going to just use the heat tool. And I find if you keep your heat in the center for a little bit, you'll notice that the curve starts coming back and straightens it out. Do you guys notice that? Just like that. And it's the same thing. If it goes the other way, you can put the heat tool on the other side and it will just go back and forth. Okay, so that seems pretty dry. So after you do that, you can adhere it right onto your balmy blue layer. Now usually for anything embossed or any paper that has a lot of texture, I like to bring in the tear and tape adhesive. I just think it allows it to be a little bit more secure, and it can really fit into that texture and those grooves in your paper. And I usually just do this on the top and bottom just for extra added security. And then I will add in my adhesive. And I will take, oops, sorry about that, a little bit shaky. I'm just gonna take my tool here and pull up the backs of the tear and tape adhesive. And I'm gonna stand up to put this on because I want this to be as center as possible. Just going to put that right in there, and you can just give that a press. Sometimes I like to turn it over, give that a good, really good press on the back. And there is your watercolor layer. I'm just going to set that aside for a minute. Actually, what we could have done is I'm going to bring back over my Big Shot. Sometimes I die cut everything, sometimes everything together, sometimes I don't. In this case I didn't, but we are going to die cut this lovely, these lovely leaves. So I'm still using the black, and I do have an adhesive sheet on the back of this. So fun fact, and I am super pumped about this, is that adhesive sheets are coming back in the catalog. I was so disappointed when they got rid of them in the last annual catalog. I am so happy they're coming back. They make a world of a difference, especially when you're using dyes like this. It just saves so much time. So I'm pretty excited about that. So we're just going to run that through. Again, if you are here, please say hi. Let me know where you're watching from. Hey, Delina. You should be able to get it right on the 7-Up website. I can double check for you. Okay, see? Look at that. That's so nice. And it's great. I won't have to worry about trying to put glue on the back of this. It's just an easy way using the adhesive sheets. Every crafter needs them in their craft room. Alright, and before we start putting on our card, the next thing that we're going to do is just do a little bit of heat embossing, because we are going to heat emboss this sentiment, and we're just going to use the Hello sentiment. I'm just going to use my D block. There we go. Just going to make sure this is straight. Using grid paper to make sure your sentiment is straight is a really good tool. There we go. For this we will need your Versamark. And my black scrap piece of paper seems to have disappeared, so we will be using a full piece. And we have some white embossing powder. And I always like to bring out my embossing buddy. These are retiring. I'm so surprised, but the embossing buddy is retiring. Oh, that's like... this helps just get rid of any static on your sheet. So I have a little measuring spoon. Took it from my kitchen when I couldn't find those little tiny spoons anywhere. So now it's just become part of my craft room. So I'm just going to stamp Hello in the corner, and you'll see that that just looks clear, but we are going to put on some embossing powder over top. There we go. And we are going to bring out our heat tool again. Just going to put this embossing powder away. The last thing you want is the embossing powder going everywhere. Alright, so we're going to bring back the heat tool. I am going to do it off camera so it's not loud, because I do use it on a high setting. Usually it only takes a minute or so, and it doesn't usually take that long. Okay, so that is nice and embossed. Okay, and then we could start building our card. So if you wanted to, you could use the sheet that you had your adhesive sheet on the back of, but I really like to save that for my intricate dies. So I'm just going to set that aside and do my heat bossing on my regular cardstock. So I'm just going to cut this out. I like to freehand cut a lot of sentiments. I don't know, I just think there's something about the imperfections that's not perfectly diagonal that I just really love about handmade cards. So I always tend to free cut my sentiments. So I'm going to trim that down just a little bit. I obviously try to make it as straight as possible, but if it's not, I don't tend to worry about that too much. Okay, so now we're just going to assemble our card. So I'm just going to use my snail adhesive. Snail adhesive is also retiring, so if you need any refills, now is really the time to stock up, because it is retiring, because there is a new adhesive coming out in the catalog, which I'm really excited to try. It's supposed to be much stronger and better. So I am definitely going to get some when the new catalog comes out on June 3rd. Hi, Martha. So we got that layer, and then we're going to carefully remove the adhesive sheet. Now I'm going to do that from the bottom stem. If you do it from this top, because there's so many different angles here, you risk ripping all of these leaves right off, so it's easier to go down. And of course you still want to do so carefully, just like that. It is really sticky, and we're just going to put that right there and just press all over so you make sure that it really sticks. Good question, Debbie. So sometimes I just do, I use the heat tool on both sides. I tend to mostly do it from the top. I don't know, sometimes I do it from underneath too, but mostly I do right on top. I just try not to get excessively close. And we're just going to use a bit of snail adhesive for our sentiment. And we're just going to put that right there. And then you have your simple watercolor wash card, and there's the original right there. Now I do have this card already on my blog. Hi, Sarah. Already on my blog. So you have the measurements and everything and all of the details on this card on my blog at sweetpaperstudios.com. You could sign up for my newsletter when you're there. But you see how the washes are different, but they're still just as beautiful. And now let's move on to another card with the watercolor wash, and I'll show you how you can blend one or more cards. Thanks, Karma. I actually toyed with the idea of some rhinestones in there, but I actually prefer it without anything else. I just think it's so pretty. I love Balmy Blue. I just love that color. So for my next card, I actually already have prepped, and actually I do have a piece of Whisper White cardstock to go inside, but I'll add that later. Just making sure that you add that layer so you can write your messages. So this one I already have prepped. I don't actually have a photo of this one because the card that I made was actually part of an order I did for a customer of mine. So I don't have it on me anymore, so I'm working off memory here. But it is the same premise. We're still going to stick with our black card base and do the wash, but this time I'm going to use a petal pink layer. You're welcome, Karma. Thanks, Martha. Petal pink layer. So in this case, we're going to use petal pink ink, but then we're also using one of my favorites, which is a Melon Mambo. This color, it's just me. Look, I even have some Melon Mambo washi tape holding my paper down. This is like so retired from a few years ago, I think, but I love this color so much. Okay, so the technique is the same for the wash. You're still going to put your layer of water, but the way you pick up the color to make it blend is just slightly different, because you want to make sure that you're not just putting pink here and pink here and pink here. You want them to blend a little bit. We're still going to use the aqua painter. So I'm going to go ahead, and you're going to do the same thing and get the inside of your pad inky. There's my Melon Mambo, and I'll do the same with Petal Pink. You can use your reinkers, so that's these guys right here. But I find when I pick up water from my reinker, it is actually too dark and a lot darker than what I want. It just, to me, it doesn't spread very well. So that's why I choose to do it this way, as opposed to, you know, taking a drop of this on a block, for example. All right. I got my Timmy's tea beside me, so I'm just taking a few sips. Okay, so the same thing. So I'm going to squeeze some water out of there. And you're going to want to make sure you have a fresh paper towel. So squeeze some water out of there. Just stand up a bit so I can see where the water is going. All right. I'm going to wipe that off. So I'm going to start with this Petal Pink. And I'm going to bring that over first. Okay, so I kind of like that. Actually, I'm going to add a bit more color. And then I'm going to wipe that off, making sure you wipe that off. And I'm going to get this ready and prepped, because I'm going to need more of that. Okay, so then I'm going to take some Melon Mambo. Now this may look a little funny right now, because it's just like, whoa, what are you doing? This is solid colors. But let me show you. So I'm going to wipe that off. And I'm going to grab some more Petal Pink. Okay. Now this is where we're going to start blending in a little bit. Okay, picking up some of that Melon Mambo and then pulling it towards the Petal Pink a little bit. Okay, and then you can wipe your watercolor aqua painter and you can grab more Petal Pink and bring that towards the center. Okay, doing that on both sides. And I'm getting a little bit of pooling here, so I'm just going to dab my paper towel in there. I'm going to pick up a little bit more Petal Pink. So you dab that and I can make that. There we go. So see how that's blending in? So it's not like you just got a blob of pink in the center. You're just blending it in. So it's like a gradual color. Might bring more of that in there. And you can keep going until you're happy with it. I think I'm happy with that. It will look slightly better, a little bit more better than when it's dry. Stephanie, I'm using watercolor paper. Sometimes if I'm out of watercolor paper, I will use thick Whisper White. But I find that regular cardstock just gets too warped. So I did the same thing I'm just adding a few drops into the lid so I can clean it out. Melon Mambo never cleans perfectly in my experience. It's such a pigmented color. That's okay. It's a well-loved ink pad. Okay, so this is quite wet still. So I'm again going to take my heat tool and on the low setting, so number 1, and I'll dry this a little bit. This is such a fun technique, and I really encourage you to experiment with different colors. Because with Stampin' Up, the possibilities for color coordination are just endless. So definitely have fun with it. I love watercoloring. I think it's super fun. So you can tell that it's beginning to straighten out a little bit. That's pretty dry. All right. See that though? Isn't that really pretty? You get the blending there. All right, so then I'm ready to put this on my petal pink background. So again, I am going to use my tear and tape adhesive just along the bottoms there. And my snail for the rest. Now I tend to add a little bit of extra adhesive also when I'm using the watercolor paper, just because, depending if it's not completely straight, I want to make sure that it stays completely secure to my layer, my card layer. And you're just going to put that in the center. Give that a press, and I'm going to flip it over and just give that a nice firm press on the bottom. And then you got your layer. It doesn't look really pretty with the background. So usually, if I'm doing colors like this, usually the color that I have on each side is the card layer that I do. I just think it looks a little bit more balanced as opposed to using, if I were to use Melon Mambo in the background as the layer. I think just is a little bit more balanced. So I'm going to fold my black card base. And I'm not going to adhere it yet because we're actually going to do a little bit of stamping, and we're going to stamp right on the center. To me, it doesn't really matter if I do stamping, whether before or after I put on the back layer. I think it works either way as long as as long as it's a full layer. Obviously, if I only use half a sheet, I wouldn't stamp on it. But I have no issue with stamping right on it. So we're actually going to use these little bubbles here, or I'm not even sure, not even bubbles, speckles, from the Forever Fern stamp set. And I'll just put those right on. And we're going to use the Memento ink. And then I'm actually going to bring in the Strong and Beautiful stamp set. This is going to be in the new catalog, and I'm so glad it is. If you haven't checked this one out, you're going to want to take a look at it. It has some lovely sayings on it. Like, you are strong like a diamond, resilient, strong, or you are like a diamond, resilient, strong, and beautiful. I cherish you, my true friend. I know I can always count on you. Like, it's just so lovely. So let's see. I think I'm going to use the You Have What It Takes to Be Unstoppable, and I couldn't be more proud. Like, that sentiment, guys. It's so nice. Thanks, Margaret. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Don't forget to share this video. I do like to do some giveaways to those who share. I really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm going to start with a sentiment. And I'm going to stamp off first because this stamp in particular, I think my husband's computer just went off for no reason. He's not even home right now. This stamp in particular I find doesn't quite match up with the label, so I just want to make sure it's straight as possible. So I'm going to use my good old grid paper just to make sure that I get my placement right. Always a good idea. And if you don't have any grid paper, you know, take a piece of printer paper and use it underneath your stamp. It's just an extra protection for your surface. So I have to do this above the camera, so I hope this is as straight as possible. Perfect. So doesn't that look so nice on top of the watercolor? It just makes the sentiment pop. I love it. So then we're going to take our little speckles and we are just going to stamp around just for some added texture and dimension. And you can be random with this. Do as much or as little as you want. I tend to just do an odd number, and I don't get too close to the sentiment because I really want the sentiment to stand out. But I really think these speckles add a little something. So then we can go ahead and put that right on our card base, and I am just going to use my snow. And again, that's just going right on the center. I'm going to give that a press, and I'm actually going to open that out and give it a nice firm press. And then that's all I did for this one, because you know, I don't think it needs much else, if anything, because the watercoloring background is really the star of the show with the sentiment there. Is that not really pretty? Oh my goodness, I love it. I love watercoloring so much. Oh, thank you guys. I love seeing those reactions. All right, so I wish I had other samples of this because I did some with Pacific Point and Gorgeous Grape mixed together. Think of the Christmas backgrounds. I know I shouldn't even talk about Christmas, but just think of the possibilities you could do with watercolor backgrounds. So nice. Okay. So I was going to show one more card, so if you guys are willing to stick around for maybe 10 more minutes, I'll show one more card that I made with the Forever Fern Suite. It is using a multitude of colors, and I recently put this on my blog and it got a lot of traction, so I thought I would show how I made it. So let me show you the card first. And actually, in order to do this card, I need my chamois and I forgot to wet it, so I might just sneak out for a second, just go wet it. But let me just show you the card I'm talking about. This is the one I'm talking about. Many of you may have already seen it. I'm not sure. Oh, thanks Debbie, thanks Martha. It's just a simple beginner card, simple stamping. All you need is a stamp, ink, and paper, and of course your block. But it was a really fun card. So I'm just going to sneak away. The sink is actually really close by, so just bear with me. I will be right back. All right, I am back. Not too long at all. Okay, so one thing I'll point out is that this card, my hand was covered in ink after I made this card because I was using my chamois so much. This hand was covered in ink. So let me just grab a card base. And I'll actually show you, I'll show you that after. I'm going to use a thick Whisper White cardstock for this one. And I'm using 7 different colors for this. But again, you can have fun with this in so many ways and experiment with colors. All right, let me just get rid of these stamps first because I just laid another card on top of this, unfortunately. Life of a Crafter. That's okay, I can take the card front off and layer it on top of another piece of Whisper White. All right. All right, so we are going to use this stamp right here. Now I can tell you from experience that this will not look exactly the same as the sample I just showed you. It just won't happen. I had went through a couple of different card bases trying to get what I liked, and I finally ended up with that one. All right. So we are going to start with Pool Party, another favorite color of mine. And we're just going to ink him right up. And he's going at the top about an inch. And I'm not going to stamp the whole image. Part of it is going to be cut off a little bit. Just going to use my grid paper to make sure I have this straight. And I'm going to put him right there. Karma, not complicated, no. I just keep watching and I'll show you. Okay, so that's all you're going to do for the first one. Okay, and then you're going to wipe off that stamp with your chamois. This is the kind of card where you're going to want to make sure that you have a chamois or something similar. If you use baby wipes, I just wouldn't recommend it because your hands will literally be covered in ink after. So use a chamois, use a cloth. The chamois is only $11. It is available in my online Stampin' Up! Shop, but it really comes in handy for this card. Okay, the next color that we're going to use is Shaded Spruce. Okay, just going to ink this up. And it's going to somewhat overlap these leaves right here. That's all you're going to do. Oh, I think I got wet. Oh, I still had a little bit of tiny drop of water from my chamois. That's okay. I can add a rhinestone there. There's always ways to cover up those little imperfections. All right. Okay, the next color that we're going to use is probably my favorite blue color, which is Pacific Point. Gonna make sure that this is dry. Yep. And we're gonna bring this one just down in the corner, just like that. See, we're just going along the right side and the bottom. Isn't this color so pretty? Oh my gosh, I love Pacific Point so much. Blue in general is my favorite color, but this color, oh my gosh. It really reminds me of cobalt blue. That's not a Stampin' Up! Color, that's just like a color. The really bright blue that I love. Make sure that is dry, okay. The next color is Pretty Peacock. Or sorry, that's not Pretty Peacock. This is pretty peacock. Okay. Now I'm trying to remember if I stamped off first. No, I didn't. Just some of these ink pads are really juicy, so sometimes I stamp off first. Okay, so we're gonna want both of these. So we are gonna do a bit of overlapping. Just like that, okay? And again, as I said, it's not gonna look exactly like my sample. That's okay. Very rarely can you get two cards exactly the same. Okay, then we're going to bring in some gorgeous grape. And I actually might change this up ever so slightly and just bring this up a little bit higher than I did with my other one. Oh, that's so pretty. I hope you can see the detail that's actually in these leaves. Do you guys see that? Oh my goodness. So, so pretty. You know, if you haven't got, the Forever Fern is the one bundle, and it actually comes with a suite, and I'll tell you a bit more about that in just a second. Once we're done the card. All right, so the last color that we're going to use is that we're going to pull out that Melon Mambo again. Actually, don't I use Melon Mambo or Lovely Lipstick? I don't think it really matters. I think I'm going to go with Melon Mambo anyway. The question is, where did I put it? You guys, oh my gosh, the life of a crafter. It couldn't have gone far because, you know, I just had it. There it is. Okay, see? Right in front of me. Right, Sarah? They're handmade, not manufactured. It's why they're incredibly special. I'm actually, my friend and fellow team member Alicia and I are actually working on creating probably about 75 to 100 cards. We both belong to a June Mommies group, and I sent 150 cards out when they all turned 1. This year I have some help because they're all turning 5 now. We're all still, most of us are still part of the same group, and some of the ladies still tell me that they have the first birthday cards that I've sent to their little ones. So, you know, it's people really appreciate the handmade cards, and I just love it. Okay, we're gonna add the pop of Melon Mambo just in the corner there. And see what I said about my hands getting all inky. So I'm gonna be very careful when I pick this up. Isn't that just so pretty with those colors? It's very simple. There's no rhyme or reason to where you're really stamping. You just want to sort of start small, work your way out, and then come back in small again. Thanks, Karma. How do you decide what stamp to use for this type of design? You know what? I think I just picked this one because I had the two different height, you know what I mean? Like this one's taller than this one, and I think like when I look at the stamp, you don't get that really with the rest of them, well, except for a little bit here, but I wanted the pattern to be, you know, big and small, if you know what I mean, really, because it just adds a little extra dimension there. I don't know, it's hard to kind of explain a design process. Sometimes I have such a hard time designing cards, but then Other times it is like super quick. Most of the time it takes me a long time. Okay, so we're going to actually pull a sentiment from the Forever Fern. We're going to take this to a friend that makes me smile. And thanks, Martha. Yeah, I love these colors, and I'm going to have to put some rhinestones on this one, I think. Which I'm okay. I use rhinestones all the time. Okay, so this stamp set, I'm not going to lie, this stamp in particular threw me off a little bit because of the way the writing is. I'm like, is this straight? Is this not straight? I don't know. So I'm going to do a stamp off first. And we're just going to put that right there. I'm using Memento Black, Tuxedo Black ink. And just want to make sure I'm stamping this straight. Might turn it ever so slightly. That looks good. Okay, now I have tried to stamp 2 different ways on my previous card. So one just in the white space and one where I sort of overlapped the sentiment on the leaves. Because of these colors, the sentiment overlapping the leaves doesn't work very well. But if you wanted to do a light color combination, you could probably get away with it. But for this, oh my gosh, look at my hands. For this, I'm going to just stamp right there. There you go. And that's all you really have to do to the card. But as I said, I'm going to cover up that little one, that little part there, with just some rhinestones. I'm going to see how the rhinestones look on there. There's also these new Flowers for Every Season gems that might work. This is part of this Flowers for Every Season suite. But I did buy these because they've got these cute gems. I'm not sure if you can see these, but they're different sizes. There's some clear. This is a bigger size. I'm not sure if you could see that right there. Not quite sure on that big gem. It covers that perfectly. Let me just see how a small one looks. I'm just using a pair of tweezers to lift these out. These are my crafting tweezers. See, that works too. This might be able to work, so I'm going to grab a couple of these. Usually my rule of thumb is use an even number. Not quite sure about that. Let me take out one of these rhinestones and see how that looks. I always say when in doubt, use rhinestones. That's kind of my thing. Just gonna move that. Actually, I think the rhinestones work. I think the rhinestones work. I'm okay with this. Just a quick way to cover up those imperfections. Bling is always good. So what do you guys think of that? Isn't that really nice? So I will show you one more sample. I won't make it, but I'll show you another color combination that I did. So this is with Pear Pizzazz. That is Balmy Blue, Pacific Point, Pool Party, Gorgeous Grape, and Melon Mambo. So you can really have some fun with your colors there. Isn't that so nice? Oh my goodness. All right, and before I say goodbye, I did want to point out that this does come in a bundle, so you get the stamp set and the dies, but you also get, let me just grab the ribbon real quick. There is a combo pack of ribbon. I'm going to have a class on this soon. My next online class features the Lovely You bundle, but this one will be coming after that, so you do get the trim, the ribbon, and this gorgeous, gorgeous gold trim. It also comes with some embossing folders, and I'll just point out that it also comes with this gorgeous designer series paper. It is stunning. This whole suite is just stunning, and I wish I could show you these pages in the catalog right now. But if you want to get your hands on this gorgeous paper, as well as all of the 16 new designer series paper in the catalog, I do have a paper share going on. So you can get over 100 sheets of all of the designer series paper, including this one. You can find that on my website at sweetpaperstudios.com. And if you just click on Stampin' Up, you'll find the link right there. So thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really hope you enjoyed all of the cards that we made, and that you enjoyed the watercoloring technique. I love being a demonstrator with Stampin' Up, and if you already don't have a demonstrator and you're in Canada, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help you out and get you started. Of course, if you need anything, you can use my host code for this month. When you shop with me in my online store, you do earn my tutorial bundle, the Stampin' Glam Squad tutorial bundle. That gets you a PDF tutorial of 16 different projects each month when you spend $60 or more on my online store. So thank you so much. Be sure to head over to my blog for more details on this card, sweetpaperstudios.com. You can check me out on Instagram under the same name, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, thank you so much. I hope everyone has a good night, stay safe, and you can catch me next Tuesday live on Facebook at 8 p.m. Eastern. Thank you so much, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!